Welcome to the Fearless Training Raw Knowledge Podcast, where we talk everything training, nutrition, and lifestyle collectively. Welcome back to episode 14, and today something a little bit different. This one is a little bit more about myself. A couple of episodes ago, in episode 9, I did a podcast with Jade Weller, who's an entrepreneur and a lawyer, amongst other things. And she actually interviewed me as well within a same time frame for her podcast, which I've once again linked in the notes for those of you who would like to find more about what Jade does with her business acumen. And this one just sort of sees me from the different perspective. Rather than the interviewee per se, it's more about my journey, where I started, a couple of thoughts and things about my life and how I got into doing what I do now, coaching and having that love for training and nutrition and the strength-based community and the industry in its entirety. And just the passion to help people really achieve what they want to achieve, not only in their physique goals, but in their life as well. And I guess that's where I differ to a lot of coaches, in the fact that I love the science and I love the training and the nutrition, but I pay a lot of attention to all the other aspects as well that surround lifestyle. Because if this is going to be something that's, as I always say, sustainable, flexible, and enjoyable, then you really have to factor in that lifestyle is going to largely impact those other two variables. And if you don't have something that ticks those boxes, it's never really going to become a lifestyle, and you're never really going to achieve great success in it, or take your physique or your health to any sort of level which is over average. And nobody wants average. We always want something better, and I think we should always strive to be not ordinary but extraordinary. So in this episode, it's a little bit, again, about my journey, where I came from, what I did, some of the fears and adversities that I faced, and some of my thought processes as well. So I hope you enjoy this episode and you get something out of it, and it gives you a bit of a better idea for the person behind Fearless Training. And if you did enjoy it, make sure to subscribe for weekly episodes as well. And leave a rating and a review. We're on 6 platforms as well as iTunes and Spotify. And your feedback really helps. The channel's growing enormously since we started. I have some super amazing and talented guests lined up, not only just in my industry, but within respect to training, nutrition, and lifestyle in the upcoming months. And I do plan to do a few more solo episodes as well. So please, if you've got any specific questions, you want to know about any specific topics relating to training, it might be nutrition, it might be lifestyle interventions, or perhaps you're just getting into training, perhaps you've been training for a few years, drop me a line, send me an email, alex@fearlesstraining.org. All the links are in the show notes below. Or drop me a line on Instagram as well. The best way to contact me is always email, but I always try to do my best to get back to every person on all my social media platforms within 24 hours where possible. If not, I'll note it down and I will get back to you, because it's really important that I provide what you, my audience, want to hear. And it's not just about what I think needs to be brought out and talked about, but sometimes there's specific key topics which people really want to know about. So if you voice that opinion, I will do my very best, as always, to get that information across to you. And if I don't know, I'll find out, or I'll ask one of my very talented peers and practitioners, and we'll make sure we find that information out for you. So once again, just before I go and leave you with this episode, thank you again for your loyalty. Thank you again for all your positive feedback. I do really appreciate it. I mean that very genuinely. I'm very grateful that I can now do what I love full time, and that is something that I always dreamed of doing. So for me, this is a bit of a dream, and I do not take it for granted, but I will continue to prosper and grow within this. So without further ado, guys, enjoy this episode this week with myself, Alex Connor.
Hey everybody, this is Jade and welcome to another episode of Jade Start Sequence podcast. Today I'm joined with Alex Connor. He's the owner of Fearless Training, which offers physique coaching. And Alex is here to share a bit of his journey, which is a very interesting one to say the least. So thanks for joining me, Alex.
Absolutely, my pleasure, Jay. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. Happy to be here and share some knowledge.
Awesome, thank you. So we've known each other for quite a few years now. I remember when I first launched Jade Start, I gave you a bit of business coaching at the very beginning as well when you were launching Fearless Coaching.
That's right.
But before we dive into your business, I'd love to know a bit about your backstory. So tell me a bit about what you were like as a kid, maybe some of the things you've been into, some passions you've had in the past.
Yeah.
A bit about Alex.
Right, a bit about me. Well, I guess to summarise to a degree, but not to go over or gross over any of the good stuff. I was always a pretty curious, outgoing sort of kid. I mean, I still am. Nothing's really changed in that respect. I'm someone that I've always wanted to do a little bit of everything, where I had things that I was really interested in, but I couldn't really just pin it down to one thing. You know, I wanted to be the footballer, I wanted to be the racing car driver, I wanted to be Luke Skywalker for, whatever it was worth.
Who doesn't want to be Luke Skywalker?
Exactly, clearly. I mean, maybe people who like Darth Vader, but, for me it was, I was always trying to do something which was entertaining, climbing trees and whatnot. And my first passion, if you like, and my first love was motor racing. Motor racing still is to this day. I love it. And that's where I sort of, found my first calling.
Wow.
So when I was very young, I was 7 years old, and I used to watch Formula One. I didn't really understand it at the time. I just sort of picked out the car and the colour which I liked, and I chose that car, and lo and behold, I wouldn't shut up about it. So my dad took me go-karting, and then that led to me racing. And at the age of 10, I moved to New Zealand. I lived there for 10 years and raced professionally. I was very fortunate.
Wow.
My mum and dad gave me,
That's
mum and dad
amazing.
gave me that opportunity. So I know New Zealand like the back of my hand, if you like. And then it got to a point where my mum and dad were, getting financially stressed, and I just didn't have enough sponsorship to continue it. And the passion was sort of flickering, and I didn't really find my way. I didn't have enough character. I don't blame it on anyone else or any external factors. I just think I needed to take it to another place. And as a 14, 15-year-old at that time, I didn't really have that character instilled in me. I would have had to move back to Europe and maybe had a little bit more luck per se. But something I wish to get back into later on in life. And then from there, I sort of delved into training. I'd always done a few sports. I was a very active kid. And I found a bit of solace, if you like, within the gym. So my mum and dad always trained. I sort of grew up in gym crashes. I was always around that sort of atmosphere. And moving to New Zealand, I was a bit of an outcast, obviously. I looked different, I spoke different,
Because you're from the UK, correct?
Correct, yeah. So the way I thought was different from where I was and born back home in the north of England for people listening and watching, near Liverpool. So St Helens, more like a rugby league sort of town. And so I faced a little bit of adversity. It was a lot of change, going from somewhere that was very busy and a little bit more advanced to sort of a laid-back country town where I didn't really fit in, and I never thought that I fit in. And now I embrace that and understand why I don't quite fit in per se. And so from there, I got picked on a lot. I got bullied a lot. I got ridiculed, and I didn't really take it too well. I didn't really know how to handle it and deal with it. It was never really severe or really bad to what I have seen and witnessed. But it definitely made a dent, and that's what first inspired me to get into training. And I think from knowledge now of working in the industry for many years, most people get into it because of some sort of adversity. And they feel
self-image issues. Or
exactly,
like that,
exactly. It's a negative thing, but the thing that keeps you going is it does turn and it does transition and evolve eventually. So, to quote, someone who I'm very inspired by, and those in the industry will know Frank Zane. He's an old school bodybuilder. He has a very holistic approach. He always said the muscle is like the armor, and it tells a story. It tells a story about your past, a lot of pain that you may have been through, and to where you have got now. So it is more of an armor. It's your shield, if you like. But then at some point you have to acknowledge what has happened, and it has to be for you. So long story short, I really got, obsessed with it to a degree. I asked my dad, can we go to the gym?
I've met your parents. They're very fit as well.
They embrace the lifestyle. So I guess you could say they inspired me. When I was young, they always, fed me good food and meals, and I just took it for granted because you don't know as a kid. You just think, well, you get what you're given. And they sort of allowed me treats and this, that, and the other, but they managed it well. I had a good upbringing. I was by no means deprived, but I look back now and go, wow, they did a great job. Because I know how to prepare pretty good food, and I ate relatively well compared to most kids, and I stayed active. I was not encouraged to sit inside and play video games. It was more to, get out there, and I enjoyed that sort of thing.
They instill those values in you from a young child to take care of your body, take care of your health. Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It. So I'm grateful for that. But I realise that, I guess, more now that I'm a little bit older.
Yeah.
And then I was at school, and I sort of gravitated to more of the hands-on, the more practical subjects like biology, PE, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And at college, I had an opportunity to do, you can do like more, like they called it, what was it now? Advanced physical education, if you will, where we went into more of the biology and the biomechanics, and they started talking about basic, anatomy and physiology, if you will.
Mm.
And then from there, I just found that this was the one thing that I was good at and I liked.
Yeah.
So I went in that direction.
Yeah.
I left school a year early, had what I needed, which was encouraged by my careers advisor to study early if you want to get a degree, which I did.
Yeah.
I didn't really enjoy school per se. I was never top of the class, apart from the subjects which I excelled in, but I had what I needed. And I didn't want to stick around. I was getting very bored. So from there, I took that and I studied early, and by the time I was 21, I had a degree, and then most people were still, fannying about. And although it was difficult, I think a lot of the people I studied with who were a bit older instilled a lot of good values. And we can go into that in more depth, but fundamentally, that's what kind of led me to the next step.
Yeah.
And then going to Australia, partway through my studies, came over, fell in love with it, because I was deciding, do I stay in New Zealand or go back to the UK?
Yeah.
New Zealand was too quiet for me at the time, and so I moved to Australia.
You've got a number of passions. I know we've spoken, you've got racing, you've got acting, so you've done quite a bit of acting as well, which I believe is on hold at the moment.
It is a little bit, yeah.
You've also got your personal training, your business. So how did you decide which passion it was that you were going to follow and which one you were going to make a business out of? And was Fearless your first business, Fearless Training?
Well, technically no. The first business was the lawn mowing business I had with my friend when, again, we were about 16, 17.
Yeah.
Because I was sick of not having any money, and when I wanted to buy something, I was sick of asking my parents. So I was always if you want something, go out and do it. Yeah. I was kind of taught that very young, and I learned to not expect anything. Like if I wanted something, I had to make it happen, which again,
it's your responsibility.
Yeah, it turned out to be a good thing. Yeah. And so me and my friend, we decided to create the lawn mowing business. So we just went around with his dad's lawnmower, who we paid like rent for and fuel, and we just knocked at people's doors and said, "Can we mow your lawn?" And they said, "Yeah, how much?" And we said, "We'll make us an offer," and it went from there. And we were sort of beside ourselves, and we sort of did that for over the summer. It was more of a 6 month. It wasn't a registered proper business, but we thought we were cool. We were earning a little bit of money, and it was good. It was that initial business acumen, I guess, and that whole partnership. Yeah. But the first official business would have been Fearless Training, and I think it was just because when I got my first job as a personal trainer when I was studying back in New Zealand before I left at the age of 19, I worked for a family gym, and it was like the bodybuilding gym in this small town. It was called Zero Limits. Yeah. And I did everything from clean the toilets, the equipment, group fitness, run the till. It taught me a lot. I was very much a generalist, I was learning to do everything. I got paid an hourly rate. Yeah. And that was a big learning curve.
So by the time you were 19, you'd learned how to work in a partnership with a different business owner. Mm-hmm. So how to manage your skills and bring them together to be able to create business. You'd also learned how to manage multifacets within inside a business. No wonder you smashed Fearless Training, because you pretty much hit the ground running. That's amazing.
Well, it's a double-edged sword, because I did and I didn't, because really I've only figured out Fearless Training 100% in the last couple of years. Like, I've always done it. Yeah. So, since I was very young, I developed the spreadsheets and, the business sort of ethos, if you will, and what it stood for when I was 20, because I had a very bad experience, which I won't go into, and that sort of turned it around for me. Yeah. Developed me, to come up with the business name, the colours, what it represented, and the value. So I am Fearless Training. I live, I breathe it. Yeah. But it didn't really hit home till later, after I'd done a lot of other rainbow chasing, if you will. Yeah. So it was always there, but again, it was like the answer was there the whole time, and then I had to just come back to it. Yeah. Sort of thing.
So let's talk about this rainbow chasing that you did, because I think we're all guilty of it. We get distracted by shiny new things, because as entrepreneurs, we're builders, right? We build something. We're constantly building great things for people. Yeah. And so I think when you first start getting into business, those first sort of 3, 4, 5 years, I've noticed, and I myself have experienced, the chasing the rainbows. You're constantly getting distracted by building new things. So tell me a little bit about the different things you've built and the lessons you've learned, and why you came back to Fearless. Why did you come back to that choice?
For sure. It's a really good question, Jade. I think a lot of the rainbow chasing came from things that I thought or had a perception that I needed, which I didn't.
Yeah.
So I'd not maybe completed or understood myself or what I wanted out of life yet. I'd not really figured out my whys.
Why. Yep.
Like what was the thing that was really driving me? I knew I loved health and fitness. And I liked it and loved a lot of other things. But again, along my journey, whether it was in retail, listening to people, it was always these common themes started to come up from wise people or people who seemed to have been a bit further down the track. Like, for example, if you want to be good at, something and you want to be very good at it, and there comes a point, and this is a principle, this is a given rule, whether you're an athlete or, in a relationship, you have to commit to one thing if you want the best of it.
Yeah.
Because at some point, you've got to sacrifice other things for that one thing that if you want to be like very, very, skilled or passionate or experience the best of the best, if you like the top 1%.
Yeah.
So going through all these experiences, I was always in the mindset for the longest time that I needed money to fuel my business because I was going to create this big grandiose sort of academy, if you will. And I just needed money, and it would always just come with time. So it was a little bit of ignorance, almost like chosen ignorance. And I was like, I'll put it in the back of my mind, and it'll eventuate, it'll happen. But I wasn't really doing anything to make it happen.
Yeah.
Even though I'd set certain goals, which would, but I was not really.
You didn't have the clear path.
No. No. I think one of the best ways to explain it was I wasn't aligned.
Yeah.
Now I can articulate it better looking back and navigate, okay, where was I and where I went wrong?
Yeah.
And, if we had to go back, it was that I was pulling in different directions. So I wasn't really congruent or aligned with my thoughts and my actions and who I was. I was constantly sort of doing a bit of this and a bit of that and a bit of this. And although I wanted this outcome, it was never going to happen, right? Because I was, being a generalist, I was going like, a mile wide and an inch deep rather than the opposite way around.
Yeah.
However, going through these experiences taught me and has eventuated me to where I am now to come back to fearless training. What made me come back to it, and to answer that specifically, was the realization of that this is the thing that you love and that you are good at combined.
Yeah.
And if you are to progress and get to where you want in life with your business and with whatever else you want out of life, this is going to be your best route to do it. Unless you have another passion. And do I? No, not that's feasible, not that I love as much, and not that I'm as good as fearless training, because that's the thing. I've always coached, I've always trained myself since I was 12 and personal trained since I was 16. So even though there may have been a lot of garbage volume, as we call it, or years that were not necessarily the most intelligent way to train or coach people, it was all cutting my teeth. It was all very valuable experience.
Yeah. I think when we first go into business too, we're trying and testing different things. We're trying and testing different methods on customers. We're trying different products. We're trying and testing different ideas that we may have. Because like you said, we're trying to find our why. We're trying to find our purpose. And I think it's very rare to meet somebody who goes into business fully aligned, knowing exactly what they're going to execute and having a path to execute that from day one. Because the only people I've met who've been like that have had multiple businesses in the past.
Correct.
And they've done that trying and testing. So I think for anybody who's starting a business, it's very common, I think, to be able to experience what you went through, and certainly what I went through, and a lot of my clients as well.
Exactly.
So you let's talk a little bit about how you launched. I know you worked multiple jobs while you were launching Fearless Training.
Yeah, sure.
How did you manage working multiple jobs while trying to get your business up off the ground, taking on clients? Was there any struggles that you had when you were doing that?
I think time management's a big one, but I think to kind of put it into perspective for the listeners, see, I launched Fearless many times, if you will. It's sort of been launched and relaunched and rebranded. It's always been Fearless, but it wasn't as potent. And the reason why this last, if you like, third time lucky launch has been so good is because of all the previous launches, if you like, of it to now give me the traction and hit the ground running because of all the experience. The struggles were always, again, conflicting, doing different things, trying to earn money, find a job that wouldn't take away from me actually doing Fearless Training. So being able to work a job, earn money, but then free up enough time and money to put back into the business to solve the equation of, spending less time and earning more money. Yeah. So I was chasing my rainbow for a long time and probably not working intelligently. Like a lot of times, there was a period of a year where I was setting up more the online sector, or I was trying to at least, and I'd lock myself in my room and do hours of work every night. And I guess a couple of lessons from there is I don't work well at night. I'm better in the morning, and everyone's different. Yeah. And a lot of the work I was just getting minutiae. So just like work for work's sake, as it can be referred to. It wasn't really qualitative. I didn't really outline what were my targets, what did I need to do. I didn't break it down. I didn't have that knowledge to be able to do that. So the biggest thing was just the time and frustration, because I wasn't seeing results, or I wasn't seeing traction, and I didn't have the guidance. I didn't have any mentors. I was just sort of looking at other online trainers or other people I wanted to emulate and replicate, and doing what I thought they were doing, which partly was, but a lot of it wasn't, which I understand now. But again, it was all valuable learning. However, was there a lot of time wasted? Yes, there was a lot of time wasted.
So I think the part that resonates most with me with that story is when you said about focusing all of your time on one thing. Like I know for me, I went through a period of time with Jade Start where I kind of lost a lot of motivation and a lot of focus, because I was wondering, where am I going with this? What's the bigger picture? What do I want to do with this business? I also am working full-time and choose to work full-time for somebody because they're my mentors, so to speak. But for me, it was finding that balance. And I know for me, what really resonates is over the last year, I've really aligned myself with my business, with what I'm getting out of my work, and with what I'm able to offer my clients. And so I've noticed my trajectory has been significant over the past 12 months because of that alignment. And I completely agree with where your focus is where energy goes, and that's where success comes from. And I really resonate with that, with your story as well.
Yeah, it's very true. It's 100% right. You've got to generate all your energy into that one direction. Like if you're doing a squat or a deadlift, to make it really simple, if you're not generating all the force against the weight, you're wasting energy and you're not going to be efficient.
No, that's great. So what's the one piece of advice that you would give to anybody who's thinking about starting a business or becoming a personal trainer?
That piece of advice for me recently would be very clean cut, and it would be this. It would be find something you truly do love, that you're passionate about, and something you're good at, and combine the two. And if you do that, you will be extremely dangerous, extremely potent, and you'll be very good at what you do if you give it the time.
And so are we going to see Alex Connor on the big screen one day? Are you going to go back to your acting career at some stage as well?
Well, definitely. Look, I love that, because again, that's always been part of my heritage and background. As I mentioned, I'm quite eccentric. I'm very creative. It's my outlet. I like to express myself. I like to be with people. I like to communicate. So that's always good, doing things within the realms of coaching, but being a character is obviously not something that I generally do with clients. I've got to be the character of Alex, but it's definitely a passion and something I'd like to make a full-time career and combine it with fearless training. And I don't see in this day and age why I can't do that with where we are with technology and the way things are going in this day and age. I think you can create any job you like, but again, I'm starting with the foundations and what's in front of me right now. What is the most important next step? And then building and adding on, rather than pulling away in a different direction as I've done in the past.
So you've recently launched a podcast. You've got some exciting things coming with Fearless Training. Where can people find you if they'd like to get in touch to hear more about Alex and see more about your journey and follow you?
Yeah, for sure. So the best place to find me, if people want to get in contact, is my email. If they want to contact me professionally, which is alex@fearlesstraining.org. And if they want to follow me on social media, they'll find me at anything Fearless Training or Alex Connor on Instagram, YouTube, or Facebook. And the podcast name, which is recently out, will be available very soon, is Fearless Training Raw Knowledge Podcast.
Raw Knowledge, ROAR.
As in raw.
Yeah, nice. I like it.
Bit of a play on words.
Awesome, I love it. Well, thank you so much for joining me, Alex. I really appreciate it. And I hope that you have an amazing day. And thank you all for listening. I hope you got something out of the video.